This mod review is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And in today's mod review, we're going to take a look at a mod called Multiple Contracts. This mod allows you to accept multiple contracts at the same time, and we're going to go ahead and demonstrate it here. This mod can be found over at modhoster.com, and there is a link in the description to that mod. So, let's take a look at our contract screen. And we happen to have a few harvest contracts here. Field 31 and Field 32 and Field 21. All have harvest contracts that require the grain head, wheat, barley, and wheat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept all three of these contracts. Now, I've done a little bit of testing, and the first time I tested this, it wouldn't let me do something. Second time I tested it, it let me do what I tried the first time. So we're going to try this here. Maybe it has to do with order. Maybe it's just a fluke the first time. Maybe it was a fluke the second time. I don't know. But I'm thinking there is a little bit of a hack here with respect to this. Let's say you don't own any equipment. We don't have any equipment here on our test map. It's got some buildings. Okay. So we're going to have to borrow some equipment. So I think I'm going to borrow this stuff here for Field 21. It looks like the bigger. Oh, Field 31. I mean, this one might be bigger. 3.91. Okay. This let's just borrow the stuff for Field 31. Okay. We're going to borrow items for that contract. Okay, we just saw it pop in the background. Now we're going to take Field 32, and we're going to accept that one. And we're going to take Field 21, and we're going to accept that one. Okay? So now we have 3 active contracts. And we only have the equipment for Field 31. Right? But what I wanted to test is I wanted to see what would happen basically if I tried to harvest a different crop. Okay, remember we took Field 31, 32, and 21. Let's go. Field 21 is right here. Okay, Field 31, 21. That was the field that had the John Deere harvester. Okay. I'm going to try to use the equipment from Field 31 mission or contract on Field 21. It shouldn't let me do this. Okay, because I'm basically borrowing the harvester from the farmer who owns Field 31. I should only be able to use it for his harvest. Okay? But I am harvesting Field 21's crop. Okay? I mean, there's no doubt that I am harvesting that person's crop. Go here to Field 21. See, we have 1% progress. Okay? We're not going to mess with the whole. Trying to dump the grain here. I'll dump it in a trailer. Alright. Let's go to Field 32. There, let's go to Field 31. Barley. 1 is wheat and 21 is wheat. Barley. Let's go over here to 31, which is the equipment for this particular contract. And obviously I should be able to harvest with this, right? Because it's the equipment that I borrowed. here. Let's on. Go. Harvesting wheat. So I will say the first time I tested this mod, it didn't work the way it was supposed to. And I'm wondering if it maybe was a result of maybe just because I just fired the mod up, the map up with the mod. I accepted a bunch of contracts real quick. I went down to the shop and basically the equipment wasn't there and the contracts I accepted disappeared from the list. They were fertilized contracts and it was on Ravenport. 5%. That is definitely working. Now, at that point, I basically came over here to a different save that I had, different test save over here on Felsburn. Fired it up, let the game run for a little bit, not a long time, just a few minutes. And then accepted a couple fertilized contracts. And they showed up, released the equipment, or borrowed the equipment from one of them. And basically it showed up and I went and I did it, but it wouldn't let me fertilize multiple fields with the same piece of equipment, which was strange. So then I finished those out. I basically quit those contracts, and then I came and I basically borrowed the equipment for another pair of contracts, or 3 contracts related to fertilizing, and it let me fertilize all 3 fields with the borrowed equipment for one of the contracts, which was direct contradiction to what happened just before, in my other test. So then I started recording, and here we are. So as you can see, so far we have been able to harvest 2 of the 3 fields with borrowed equipment. We're going to go over here to the 3rd field, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't let us harvest equipment from that field also, but we're just going to try it. It's a very small, very simple mod. It's just a script mod you activate in your mod selection screen. Nothing else you need to do. I did want to mention the few caveats with respect to the experiences that I had with this mod. So your mileage may vary, may run into similar glitches, or you may have absolutely no problems at all. I have seen comments in the mod comment section related to folks using this on multiplayer and it working fine on multiplayer. Now, personally, I would shy away from installing this on a multiplayer server, but that's because I'm thinking deviously that if I was in a economy gameplay on a multiplayer server, then I could just come in. There we go, there's number 3. Standing, so we've just used the same piece of equipment on 3 different fields, 3 different contracts. We've only had to pay 1 borrowing fee to borrow this piece of equipment. Go through here and complete all the contracts, selling the grain to all the various sell points, and then once we were all done, collect the money for the contract that we borrowed the equipment off of, and we would basically get free use of the equipment. It's a pretty cool side effect, I think, of this particular mod. We got progress on all 3 fields. Port southeast, and port northwest. That would be really handy if all of them went to the same sell point, because then you wouldn't have to figure out which field went to where. But at any rate, what I was saying is I would shy away from putting this on a multiplayer server because if I was devious of mind, I would come in here and I would accept the whole dang list of contracts. Okay? And now I or my farm can do all these contracts and they've been locked out. Everybody else has been locked out of them. So that's the reason I wouldn't put this on a multiplayer server. But of course, that's because the first thing I try to do is I try to think of how could somebody be devious and do the wrong thing with a particular mod. But your mileage may vary, but just be aware that is a potential on the multiplayer server if you put on this multiple contracts mod. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please go ahead and click that like button. Let me know what you think of the multiple contracts mod. What's your experience been with it? You run into interesting glitches like I was describing where you accept the contract and it just vanishes from the list, or you accept the contract, you borrow some equipment, and it doesn't let you use it on the field that it wasn't borrowed for. Tried that. It basically did that to me once, but then I tried it 2 more times and it worked just fine. Until next time, guys, happy farming.